Welcome, everyone. This is Desiree Dubois, founder of An Empowered Woman and with Strictly Business. And tonight, our special guest is Natalie Ledwell, who is a co-founder of Mind Movies, as well as Ultimate Business Summit. Is that correct?
Yeah, so Ultimate, it's USM.
It's Ultimate
Masterclass, yes.
Masterclass and what it is. So welcome so much. How are you doing this evening?
I am doing fantastically well. I've actually really been looking forward to having this chat with you. I love being on shows, having conversations like this. Opening up conversations, especially around women. We tend to suffer ourselves and put very high standards on ourselves, and sometimes we forget to ask for support and to ask for help. So I'm looking forward to sharing some of my story and some of the things that I use to be able to, that I've used to be able to build a multi-million-dollar company. So it's going to be great.
Well, I find your story so amazing, and especially the fact that you relatively haven't been in America for so long, and like you've done so much, and how you utilize the different resources, the people, and the programs that were available to be able to launch your business. So, thus.
Okay. Well, for those people who don't know what a mind movie is, a mind movie is basically like a vision board. So, but it's the movie version of a vision board. So it's like affirmations and photos and music combined into this dynamic little movie that you create, which is a picture of the life or the business or the love or the health that you want to create in your life. And of course, I got into this by accident, like all amazing things that happen in my life. I got in purely by accident. It kind of really started in 2006. I was sitting at my desk at my home office in Sydney, and I'm looking at all my bills, and I'm looking at my bank balance on the computer and going, okay, I'm missing a vital piece of information here because at the time, my husband and I had 4 businesses we were running at the same time. So we had all this action going, so that wasn't a problem. It was kind of like, I liken it to being like a car up on a jack, and the wheels are spinning, but we actually weren't going anywhere. And I'm like, it's not meant to be this hard. I'd been a student of personal development since I was 21 years old. My boss at the time handed me a set of cassettes by Brian Tracy and said, look, I think you're going to really like these. So I knew all the success principles, and from then I was just like an avid learner. And I thought I was doing everything right and applying everything that I knew, but obviously something wasn't working. And so I kind of set this strong intention. I'm like, I need to figure out what the missing piece is. And of course, not long after that, I saw a movie called The Secret, which explained the law of attraction to me for the first time in a way that I understood. I'm like, okay, I get it now. So my problem, or not my problem, but my challenge, and what stopped me from being so successful before, amongst a few things, was that if I didn't see how it was going to happen, and I couldn't plan the whole thing out, then I never believed it would come true. So I never set myself audacious goals or big, outrageous goals, because I could never see how it was going to happen. But when you know how to apply the law of attraction, your job is to be very clear about where it is that you want to end up. What you want your business to look like, what life is like once you get there. So as long as you're clear with that, and you can visualize and see yourself and feel what it's like to actually be in that future, and you do that, as often as you can, because, our subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between what we see through our eyes and what we play in our mind on a consistent basis. So once you're very clear about that and you add action to that as well, then what you have is a recipe for success. So the jack was finally down, the car was taking off. Not long after we saw the movie, a friend of ours approached us with these movies that he was making and asked us to help him set up a website so we could, sell the instructions so people around the world could make these movies for themselves. Now, you have to appreciate, not only did we have 4 businesses, so we needed another business like a hole in the head, but we knew nothing about the internet. Glenn couldn't turn on a computer. I hadn't even heard of YouTube or MySpace or Facebook or anything like that. And this is like the beginning of 2007. But we did know it was a brilliant idea. So we're like, okay, well, we'll just try and figure this out. So we put a little video up on YouTube. Someone told us to copy the, those popular keywords that was on a movie for The Secret and put that on our video. And from there, we started to get a consistent stream of people, purchasing the instructions to make these movies. And after several months, we were getting that many emails from people saying, this is changing my life. Like, okay, we need to figure out how to blow this up. How do you market on the internet? Like, how do you do that? And then, of course, with some research, we realized you actually can purchase programs that teach you how to do that. So our first investment was a $2,000 investment, which at the time was massive. And of course, we've lost Desiree. I can still see me, but I can't see her camera. So we might just wait to see if she comes back on again, and what's happening with her. But I think I might just keep talking until she comes back in, unless unless the whole feed drops out altogether. So yes, so $2,000 investment, very scary at the time, and of course, this is money that we're investing online, and we is it a scam? Like we had no idea, and it was such a huge investment. But of course, we purchased the program. Like I said, $2,000 investment, and from one idea that we implemented from the first module of the first part of that program, we got $6,000. We're like, okay, this guy is a genius. He obviously knows what he's doing. He announced he was doing a live event in April of 2008, and so we had said we'd go and do that. And in Glenn's original My Movie, he actually, one of his affirmations was that we live in an endless summer. So within 18 months of him creating that original My Movie, we were doing 6 months in California and 6 months in Sydney, which was just outrageous because we're like, how does that happen? And it happened so quickly. So we flew over to the US, and we set a very strong intention on the way over. And I said to Glenn on the plane, I said, right, we need to meet this Frank guy. And his name was Frank Kern, the guy who designed the program. Like, we need to somehow get him to mentor us because he's a genius and he knows exactly what he's doing. And then we need to immerse ourselves in this world so that even on a social setting, even, socially, we are in this world and we're learning and we're socializing and we're just living, eating, breathing, marketing, online marketing. So that's what we did. Came over. We actually joined Frank's mastermind, which was one of the smartest things that we ever did. Because Frank announced for the first time that he was going to be doing a live mastermind. And actually, you know what? Before I go on, let me just check with Desiree and see what's happening there. Still. It kind of feels a little strange that I'm talking to the camera. I can see me and I can see that it's still filming live. But I can't see Desiree at all. It's just kind of like a blank screen. And let me just see if she can, let me go here so I can see the, hear me. Don't you just love technology? Can't live with it, can't live without it. Okay, keep talking. I just dropped, trying to get back in. Okay, wonderful. So we haven't lost her altogether. She will be coming back in. So I'm going to continue with my story, and let me just let her know that that's exactly what I'm doing. Okay, so we joined Frank's mastermind group. We become friends with all these different marketers. We're in San Diego, and so we committed to launching My Movies to the world. So we are over here on the smell of an oily rag, which means in Australia that we are over here with no money. We're basically existing on credit cards. As we're moving towards the launch, we didn't have the money to pay anyone on the team to be able to, to build the websites and set up the autoresponders and all the other things that go along with that. So we had to learn those skills ourselves. Now, I'm 40 at the time, and I'm having to learn how to edit videos and do, like, things that are so far outside my comfort zone and so far outside my realm of what I know, because I wasn't even working on computers before this time. So, but we were committed. We knew that what we had to do. So when I look at the story of how we did this, so we did our launch in September 2008. It also, as you probably would remember, it was the month and specifically the week that the economic crisis hit the planet. So I see. Hi, Desiree. I see you back.
I don't know what happened. It just dropped me.
Oh, technology.
Okay.
Well, I've been having a bit of a chat while you've gone.
I know you had so much to share that I had time. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay, darling. Good to have you back. So I was just actually saying how, when I look at the story of how we launched My Movies, our launch, we were working 14-hour days from our bedrooms. We had to, steps so far outside our comfort zone that there was no comfort zone. We had to learn everything ourselves. We had no money to pay anybody else. We were able to actually convince the copywriter, the guy that built the affiliate tracking system, and the JV managers to work on a percentage of the launch. So no, thank God they had faith in us. Otherwise, I don't know how we would have pulled this off. So, and of course, things like, the launch following the week the economic crisis hits the planet, that's something that you can't plan around. Like, who knew that was going to happen? We had everything that went wrong during that launch. Now, our email delivery system shut us down through our pre-launch week as we're building our list, because they thought we were doing something illegal. I mean, our list grew from 8,000 to 80,000 in 1 week. We had to use PayPal as our payment gateway because we're Australian, so we don't have, bank accounts or social security numbers. And of course, PayPal closed down our account halfway through the week. We got it reinstated, but then they completely froze the account. So, we did a $700,000 week, so it was a raging success. But then we can't get at the money. The morning of the launch, we had $120,000 on credit cards. So to say that it was like there was so much stress and everything was riding on this and we'd risked everything to get here. And then to be told at the end of the week, yes, you've made all this money, but you can't have any. And of course, their poor excuse was, well, you may get some refunds. We're like, yes, we will be getting some refunds, because back then we had CDs. So we had to pay for the shipping, like $100,000 just in the shipping to get the CDs out. So they were able to release enough money for us to pay the team, pay for postage. We still had to pay our affiliates because, we owned them 50% of the sales. So we had to take out a loan when we went back to Australia in Glenn's dad's name, just to pay them 50%. And after 6 months, and finally getting an attorney involved, they finally released the funds because we had $500,000 sitting in PayPal. And the silver lining to all of this was that when we got the money back to Australia, because the US dollar was still so weak, we ended up earning over nearly $250,000 just in the exchange rate. So, we ended up basically doing $1 million Australian dollar launch, and which was interesting because in that original launch, we actually created a mind movie talking about, the amount of customers we were attracting. Our monetary goal was $1 million. And, everyone that we were hanging around had done $1 million launches, but of course they were doing that with a $2,000 or $5,000 program. Our program was only $97 and there were no upsells, and we were still able to create that amount of income from it, which was just incredible. So it was just like a massive, massive success. So of course, when we go back to Australia and then come back the next year in 2009, that's, when we had people like, the Jack Hanfield and John Asraf and Joe Vitale and all those guys that were my mentors that I saw in The Secret were then reaching out to us. And wanting to know who these 3 crazy Australians are that had just popped up on the scene in shock and awe with this huge campaign that we did. But if I was to go back and actually dissect and look at all the things that we did during that time that I think was working in our favor, obviously, number one, setting a very strong intention. With anything that we do, being clear about what you want and setting an intention for that. On the plane on the way over, the intention was that I wanted to make sure that we met Frank, got him to be our mentor, and then, immersed ourselves in that world. We would make sure that, as we're working on the launch, it's so important that that you get yourself in a consistently high vibration. The thing is, when we're in our business and we're in the thick of it and we're fighting through the concrete and we're trying to make things work, often when we're sitting in that vibration and we're just looking at the challenge in front of us, we can't see the solution. We need to step out of it. We need to raise our vibration, and we need to come at it and come back at it with a fresh mind and a different perspective. And so what we used to do when we were particularly stressed, we would leave the apartment, we'd get in the car, we'd get a coffee, and then we'd go down to the dog beach down in Ocean Beach in San Diego, because, we'd left our 2 dogs back in Australia. And so we'd watch, dogs frolicking with these big smiles on the beach, which would make us happy, raise our vibration. And then from that point, what we would do is have these discussions in present tense as if the launch was already over and it was a massive success. And we would talk about how we were taking our families on holidays. We would talk about the respect we got from our peers. We would talk about, the fancy restaurants that we're eating at, the traveling that we were doing. And every time we'd sit in that conversation, it would get more elaborate and just, and we'd build on it even more, so that would help to really build our belief. That way, when we go back to the apartment and we're facing the challenges that we did, whether they were technical or whatever they were, we were able then to be able to come at it from a fresh mind and from a fresh energy. So it was easier for us to see a solution for that. Setting the intention, being in a constantly high vibration. Every time we came across a challenge, we had a couple of mantras. One was that failure is not an option, because we'd risked way too much. But the other thing was that, we would have a mantra that there's more than one solution to every challenge. Every time, Aweber closed us down, PayPal would freeze the account. Every time something like that would happen, we would just go, okay, what's the solution? Which one are we going to choose? And what happens when you use language like that, you have this expectancy that there is a solution, rather than going, how am I going to get around this, or there is no way out. We were like, oh yeah, there's a way out, but there's several, so which one are we going to choose? So it was a foregone conclusion that there was a way around that challenge. Obviously having our mind moving, being very clear about the end result, and we would get the JV managers and the copywriter, and everyone would be watching this mind movie every day. So we were very clear collectively where we wanted to end up as a group, which of course, ended up being a massive success. So yeah, there are the kinds of things that we did during that launch, but that we consistently do to keep ourselves, stepping outside our comfort zone and doing something bigger. Because for me, unless I'm pushing myself or feeling fear, or, feeling that like I'm stepping way outside of what my realms of I think is possible, I like to do that at least once a year. So to really push myself, because, I know that when we have the business prowess that we have, and then the ability to apply a law of attraction and the things that I've been able to manifest, I know that when I combine the two of them, that anything is possible.
So you find that, and you utilize that mind maps, and because some people still have a problem with realizing that how powerful it is, and that it can work for them, because they said, okay, that's great, it works for her, or it has worked for some people, but they really have difficulties believing that if they implement that, that's going to solve the problem. And they don't realize that it's not only the intention, but it's also the work that goes behind it. It's not one or the other, it's a combination. Do you agree?
Absolutely. See, success isn't just law of attraction. Success isn't just action. It's actually a formula. It's like I actually have a 12-step formula, which is what the USM, or my success school, is all about. Because when you combine all of those, because it's part, the habits that we adopt, our daily practices, our belief in our manifestation, that being able to apply and do the action, getting rid of our limiting beliefs. I know we touched earlier on the glass ceiling that we set for ourselves. More often than not, it's a self-imposed glass ceiling that we don't realize, that that's playing out in our life. And for me, I actually had, I normally refer to these as limiting programs or limiting beliefs. These programs, we all have them. When you look at how we adopt these programs, normally most of us adopt them between the ages of 2 and 6. That is when we, as children, our brains are functioning at a different brainwave state. And we are predominantly what they call theta brainwave state, which means at this part of our development, we are looking and listening and observing and absorbing everything around us. So we know how to think, feel, and act when it comes to anything: money, self-image, business, health, everything. And we're just absorbing it in. And because we're in theta, we have no filter. It's just going in there and being stored as a belief. And in my particular story, in my particular case, I remember it was February of 2008. And we're in Sydney, and Glenn and I are working with a friend of mine creating a program called the How To series. And this particular day, we were recording, the video was on how to eliminate limiting beliefs. And so my girlfriend Linda says to me, she goes, right, I need to do an exercise with you on camera to walk people through the process of getting rid of their limiting beliefs. So I'm like, look, I don't think I can help you. I'm a very positive person. I see the glass half full. Like, I feel like I'm pretty successful. And she goes, okay. She goes, well, let me ask you a question. She goes, do you have enough money? And of course, Glenn and I were struggling financially, as you know. So I'm like, okay, no. And she goes, all right, well, let's just start with that and see how we go. So we sit down, and, I've got my eyes closed, and she's asking me a series of questions. And she's actually using an NLP technique to get me into my subconscious mind. And then she asked me the question, when did you first form your limiting belief around money? And without hesitation, I said, when I was 5. And at first I'm thinking, whoa, where did that come from? But what I realized and what memory came up for me was, I'm from a big family. I'm one of 8 kids. So I never really socialized with kids before I went to school. So I'm at school, I'm 5. My maiden name is Roloff, and my dad's German. So, I used to get teased, roll off the cliff and roll off the hill, and you know what kids are like. And it wasn't really the teasing that bothered me so much, but it was the fact that I noticed, my observation was that the rich kids used to tease me the most. So I'm like, So my 5-year-old innocent observation was, if you have money, you're not a nice person. So whoop, straight into my subconscious mind. But then I go home, and of course, I'm part of a big family. So, there's always stress at home about lack of money. So it just kind of concreted that belief in for me. So I had no idea that I was operating from this belief system around money. So when I went through this process with my girlfriend, Linda, I remember coming out of it, I had tears coming down my face. Just the realization of like, wow, I had no idea. At this stage, I'm 40 years old. I've been thinking these thoughts for 30 years, or 35 years. I'm like, wow. And then like dominoes, all these realizations of decisions that I'd made and thoughts that I would think and things that I would do. Like, every time Glenn and I would talk about money, it would always be this stressful, angsty conversation for no reason. But then I realized what I was doing was emulating my parents' behavior, because that's what I observed and that's what my program was. So, remember, this is February 2008, and big launch is September 2008. And of course, since then, that's been the most financially and spiritually rewarding years of my life. And I haven't been able to not look back. So I was able to understand what my programming was, understand where it came from, understand it's not truth. It was just an innocent observation as a 5-year-old. So then I was able to consciously choose better thoughts, or thoughts that are in alignment with the future that I wanted to create. And so what I would do is I would add affirmations to my mind movies that were in alignment with this new future. So rather than thinking, I'm spiritual, I don't need money, or which was Pearl, or I don't know why we used to think that, or, other people need it more than I do, or, you don't want to be too rich, people won't like you. So I would write down and acknowledge all of these thoughts that were holding me back. And then, okay, well, what do I want to think instead? And how do wealthy people think about money? I had the honor and the privilege and the great pleasure to hang out with Richard Branson. So Richard Branson at Necker Island. And he's one of my personal heroes. I love him because not only does he not know how to make money, but he has a very healthy attitude towards it. He's doing a lot of amazing good in the world and philanthropy work that you don't really know about. Plus, he knows how to enjoy it. You know, what more could you ask for? But he has a very, when I talk to him, it's like, you know, what are your thoughts about money? He goes, he has the same thought that most of us do, that it's like energy. You've got to keep it flowing. You've got to keep it moving. It's not something that you hold on and grasp like it's like, oh my God, I need money. I need to hold on to it. It's not something you accumulate so much as, you know, that I love to create it through helping people. And then, you know, of course, I have a comfortable life because it helps me to show up as the best version of myself. And then from here, where I keep my cup full and I keep my energy high, I then, you know, then give it out. And I'm looking at, you know, sponsoring villages in Africa and, you know, and working with other organizations with Cynthia Kersey and with, you know, Just Like My Child and different, you know, different sponsorships like that I'm doing. So it's a way for me to keep going. But the thing is, that's part of my thought process. That's part of the affirmations that I write in my mind movie, so that when I'm in my visualization, I see myself operating from this new thought paradigm. And I see how these new thoughts are changing the outcomes in my life. Because see, once we have these new thoughts that we're thinking on a regular basis, they create these new neural pathways in our brain. And so rather than having the default negative, disempowering thoughts that have been traveling along some pretty strong neural pathways for the last 30 years, obviously it takes some work in the beginning and some effort in the beginning. But then once I create these new neural pathways and consistently see myself operating from these new thoughts, that in turn changes my actions. And when my thoughts and actions are in alignment with this amazing future and business that I want to create, I vibrate at a certain frequency, because we're all made up of energy. And I'm feeling the emotions of already being there, which is the energy part of this equation. So then whatever is a vibrational match to that frequency that I'm giving out into the universe or the quantum field is then attracted back to me, because it's a vibrational match to that vibration that I'm sending out. And that's kind of basically how the law of attraction works.
So where in your 12-week program, then how do you start? Does someone do that and assess that and kind of work that part first before they come to you, or is that part of your program?
You know what?
Well, I think there's a lot of people that don't realize that they have the limiting beliefs. You know, they think they're okay. They think they have a healthy thought, yet they still, you know, they don't realize it.
Yeah. You know, we the 12 weeks that we go through in the Success School is, you know, we start from the basics first, because we need to have that strong foundation. You know, I was talking a little bit earlier about our story with my movies. So, you know, we knew how important it was for us to be in that high vibration, because once you're in these lower vibrations, you cannot see the solution. All you can see is the challenge. All you can see is what's right in front of you. All you can see is the debt or the lack of clients or whatever it is that's showing up for you. So you need to step out of that. So the first part of the program is setting that foundation. I call it getting into your happy place. But it's not just how to do it, it's the practice of doing it. You know, this needs to be a daily practice that becomes so second nature to you that when you don't do it, it's kind of like as icky as not cleaning your teeth or having a shower. And like you wouldn't think of starting the day without, you know, doing those two things. Well, this is what we, you know, the practices that we get you to apply and to take on as you go through the program. So we get into a happy place. We've got that high vibration foundation first. Then we're setting our intention. We mentioned before about how I set that strong intention on the plane on the way over. And what I love about this particular lesson that we teach is that, you know, a lot of people will message me, because we actually have a forum which is inside the program that you can ask me specific questions, and you can, you know, connect with other people going through the program from all over the world. It's a place to go to for support. But the biggest comment that I get from this module 2 is that, wow, things have already started to fall into place. Because once we get clear about what it is that we want, things will start to fall into places and everything starts to click in. So setting the intention is, you know, the next step. But then after that, we do our mind movie. So, you know, setting the intention is definitely the first step in that direction, but then getting really crystal clear about what it looks like. And so, you know, obviously part of my movies is creating affirmations. The language that we use around our goals is extremely important. You know, we don't want to be talking about being debt-free. because all the subconscious mind here is debt. And so all we do is focus on debt and then attract more debt. So, we go through and use some very positive, empowering language. But I recommend there's like 5 different types of affirmations that I recommend people write out to comprehensively describe this amazing future, so that when you sit down to do your visualization, it's easy for you to do that because you've just described everything in text. So you have your what affirmations. So what is it that you're striving for? What is the specific goal? Is it a certain amount of money per month? Is it a certain amount of customers? Is it a certain weight goal? Is it a supportive, loving relationship? Whatever that is. So write that first. Then you want to describe what life is like now you've reached that goal. So when you can do that in positive affirmations in present tense, you're already describing for your brain exactly what it's going to be like when you get there, what your day looks like, what you're going to be doing with this extra cash, how much you're going to love getting up in the morning and going to work and serving the people that you do in your community. The next type of affirmation is what I call your why affirmation. So why are you stepping outside your comfort zone? Why are you going through all this extra effort? The thing is, you will come across challenges. That's just part and parcel. That's the nature of the beast. But when you can be very clear about why you're going through the heartache and the effort and everything to get to this particular future that you want, when you do hit those challenges, it's going to be that burning motivation to keep you going because you know exactly why you're doing it. The next type of affirmation is what I call your action affirmations. So, of course, you don't need to know the whole plan. But you do need to know what the next step is. And maybe there are things that you can be doing on a daily basis, like a certain amount of sales calls, getting a certain amount of new clients, a certain amount of exercise or whatever that is, to be able to keep you consistently on the road to the goal that you want to achieve. So I always put them in there so it's a reminder. And I always say, like for example, with my health and fitness ones, I always talk about how much I enjoy getting up early in the morning and exercising, until I believe it. And then the last type of affirmation is what I call your thought affirmations, which you've already talked about. Changing those disempowering thoughts to thoughts that are in alignment with the future you want, and thinking about how healthy, loving, wealthy people think, and adding those in there so you can see yourself operating from that thought paradigm. So, we have that. And we also talk about inspired action as well. Because here's the thing, when you know where you want to go and you're taking action, sometimes it's you want to take some quiet time to really tap into where you want to go next, what direction you want to take, what decision to come next. And the only way you can do that is to sit very quietly in stillness and ask the question. If you've read a book called The Seed of the Soul, or any Jack Cornfield, or any of those kind of spirituality type books, they all say the same thing. When you can sit in stillness and ask the question and then stay quiet long enough to hear the answer, you will always get an answer. So, I teach people how to sit in that stillness, how to ask that question. I actually have a little exercise I do first thing in the morning. Before I've even opened my eyes, my brain's just starting to kick in, my eyes are still closed. As we're coming out of sleep and then going into sleep, we are in theta brainwave activity. And remember, before I was referring to that as that time where we're very impressionable. Well, it's also at that brainwave activity, it's easy for us to connect to the quantum field if you're talking about the science of what we're doing, but we're very receptive. So that is the perfect time to ask that question. What am I doing today to move me closer to my goals? How am I solving this challenge, that I'm facing? What am I writing in this chapter? How am I finding these new clients? Whatever that question is, just ask the question and then stay quiet long enough, to hear the answer. You may, especially if you have a family, you may need to set the alarm just a little bit earlier. So you have maybe 10 to 15 minutes of doing that, before you have to get up and, sort the family out. But it's definitely worth your while to do that and to get into the practice of that, because that is where you get the most inspiring and amazing ideas. And for me, it works all the time. And then, of course, then we're getting into how we get into our limiting beliefs, how to uncover them, where to find them, and actually bring in an expert on EFT, a woman called Margaret Lynch, who we go through a specific process that people can use, and it doesn't matter what your belief is or what your program is. This particular technique that we teach you, you can use for anything. You know, we have a lot of people that go through the program multiple times. They'll go through with one life area first, and then once they reach that goal, they'll go back through again. So you actually have lifetime access to the program and to me and to the forum and everyone that's there. So, you know, because you'll have different programs about different things, and every time you strive for a new goal, something new will come up. It's like there's always another layer. But what I want to do with the program is actually you know, give you the tools and equip you to be able to uncover and to eliminate these programs as they come up for you and as you move forward in life for the rest of your life. Then I have actually Janet Atwood comes in. She's done a little process with me. She is the creator of a thing called the Passion Test, and the Passion Test helps you to identify what your passions are. You know, so maybe up until this point, you know, you've been working through on a specific goal, but you haven't really thought about, well, where am I going to go next? You know, what are my passions? Am I truly happy? You know, and if I'm just kind of going through the motions and just so focused on work and family and kind of just running all the time, you know, being able to go through the process of figuring out what your passions are really helps you to, you know, carve out a little bit of you time, a little bit of time just for you to do something that really makes your heart sing. And it doesn't have to be something huge. It could be just something this little minor. But, you know, I know that as women, we lose our identity, you know, becoming these successful businesswomen and mothers and wives and all these other roles that we have. Sometimes we forget to take me time. So, you know, discovering what your passions are is a really good way to do that. And the other thing we do around this time is going through your core values. This is a really interesting exercise because for each different life area, we have different values, and being very clear about what your values are, especially in business. You know, I have a very clear idea of what my core values are. Now, you know, when Glenn and I started with Mind Movies and we've created this amazing business, we have like a network of about 2,000 JV partners or affiliates, you know, that when we do campaigns, they'll support us, we support them. But we also have the ability that if we're doing business with someone and they don't align with us with the same values when it comes to business and relationship and partnership, then we have the luxury of being able to choose whether we want to do business with them or not. And the thing is, being very clear, especially when it comes to business, it helps you to foresee some potential problems that could show up, you know, down the track. You know, and one particular story I can share with you is this is something that I learned, you know, years before. So before we got involved with Mind Movies, I know Glenn and I had 4 businesses. We had plenty more before that. We had a nightclub for 5 years. We were doing property development. We had 4 coffee franchises. We were into everything. Exactly. It was just like we were just looking for that vehicle that was going to get us to where we wanted to be. And we had a really close friend of ours, like a really close friend, both individually for Glenn and I. He was one of our closest friends, betray us in business in a very devastating way. And it was an interesting lesson to learn. And, you know, and when I think back on it, you know, what we learned was that it's like the fable of the frog and the scorpion. You know, and the fable goes, you know, like there's a fire and a scorpion and a frog are raced down to the edge of the river. And the scorpion says to the frog, "Can I jump on your back and can you swim us to the other side?" And the frog says, "Well, why would I do that? You'll just sting me." And the scorpion says, "Well, why would I do that? Then we'll both drown." So this frog goes, "Okay." Scorpion jumps on the frog's back. They get halfway across. Scorpion stings the frog. And the frog goes, "Why did you do that? Now we're both going to die." And he goes, "I can't help it. It's in my nature." Now, what we learned from this particular situation was that this friend, we saw this side of him. We saw that his values weren't really aligned with ours, but he would always do it to someone else. We never thought that he would do it to us. Yeah. But he's a scorpion. He couldn't help it. This is just his nature. So, of course, eventually it was going to come back around and bite us on the butt, which it did. But that's why, especially when it comes to business, knowing what your values are and relationship. I know when I went through and looked at all my values when it comes to having, a partnership or a relationship, they're different to my business values. When I look at that and I go, wow, okay, so this means that these are the values I'm looking for in a partner as well. So it helps me become very clear about the type of, man that I want to attract, because he needs to be in alignment with that too. So it really helps, decisions, the people that you do business with, who you go into partnership with. It helps all of that when you're very clear about your values. We also go through things like, how to move through challenges. Challenges are always going to show up. They're always going to, they show up for you. So, we teach you how to do that. And then also connection to source or God or the universe or the quantum field or whatever you want to call that. I have no preference on the word that you use there. But then how spirituality can be such an enriching part of our lives, how it makes everything worthwhile, and how being able to have that relationship with God, and to bring that into who you are as a person and in your business and how you serve people can really make the difference. I was just watching recently an interview of Super Soul Sunday with Oprah and Richard Simmons. No, is it Richard Simmons? Is that his name? Russell Simmons. Sorry, Russell Simmons. And he was talking about, how he does yoga every day and he's meditating every day, but how that is infused into how he shows up, how he is successful, how he is with other people, and how he is in his business. And I think that when we can have that constant relationship, that just, helps us become a better version of ourselves, that's just kind of like the icing on the cake.
So after the 12 weeks, then the participants, the students, they've embedded and they've incorporated this mindsets and these activities in their lives, and they have the success they want on all different areas of their life.
Yes. Well, the principles, these are like life success principles that can be applied to any life area, any goal, anything that you want to do. And like I said, we have a lot of people that go through round one. And, I always ask people to set a goal that they can achieve within the 12 weeks. Some people maybe take a little bit longer. If it takes a few extra weeks, it's all good. But then when people go through the second time, it's like a completely different experience. The second time it's like you already know the outline, but then there are so many more things that you pick up when you're applying it to a different life area or you're going through it again, which I actually was, I'm in there every day answering questions, and so, I'm connecting with people inside the forum. And when people go through the second time, they're like, wow, was I like asleep the first time? But there are so many more nuances and you're more relaxed now because you know what's coming. And you know that you've already applied these lessons and these skills and these habits and these practices to already create some success. So you kind of surrender and you relax into it the next time. And so it's like when you can be in a state of letting go and surrendering, and that, and in that relaxation, what you're doing is you're opening up the flow between you and the universe. And so everything seems to be a little bit easier the next time. And, you seem to pick up a few, it's like when you read a book for the second time. Something I remember reading Think and Grow Rich about 5 times, and every time I read it, it's like, was I like sleeping the first time I read this? I don't remember any of it. But, going through.
Well, because it depends on where you are in your life. I think it also depends on where you are in your life and what you're receiving and what's really applicable. At different points, I think certain things make a big difference. So I think that's really valid. That's a valid point.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing, like you're exactly right. Our perspective on, what goal we're working towards, what other challenges are showing up, where we're at, as in, where we're at with, the urgency or the belief or that we can take our life to the next level. And it all plays a factor, and our, our perception on how we're looking at things. I think once you go through the program the first time, you, especially like, I think it's module 10, 8, 9, 10, something like that. We talk about language and how everyday language is kind of, is working against us sometimes, because what we don't realize, and this is something that I realized about myself, after we did this big launch in 2008, we basically were eating junk food, American junk food for 3 months. And when I went back to Australia, I was clothes shopping, and I went into the store and I got a pair of shorts and it was a size 12, and I knew I'd put on a little bit of weight, and size 12 was kind of like the highest end of my size. So I got on and I couldn't put them on. I'm like, oh my God. And I remember the girls outside the changing room, Glenn's in the next changing room, and she's like, can I get you another size? I'm like, yeah. She goes, what size do you need? The word 14 could hardly come out of my mouth. It was like, and I'm like, Glenn's going to hear, but then I'm like, am I kidding myself, as if he hadn't noticed already? And I'm not saying size of 14 is a big size at all, but for me, it was my benchmark. It was like, okay, it was the biggest I'd been. I'm like, all right, time to do something about this, and I went through my process. I set my intention, and I was actually, my 40th birthday was coming up in 7 weeks' time. I'm like, right, I'm going to be a size 10 by my 40th birthday. I'm going to look amazing. And of course, I went through the process of what we did with the launch, set the intention, created the My Movie, did the action, went through the visualizations, did everything that I applied then to this as well. But what I realized, which was really interesting, was that when I looked at other women, when I was feeling so upset with myself and feeling, that I wasn't at my best and that I'd put on weight, I was judging other women in my head. I would look at other women and go, oh my God, look at that muffin top. Who let you walk out of the house wearing that? Like, it was awful. And it wasn't until I kind of caught myself and went, whoa, what am I doing here? And the only reason I was thinking it is because I was hurting myself. I was upset with myself and I'm hurting myself. And I'm thinking they must be judging me because I'm judging me like the worst I possibly could. And so from then I made a point of going, okay, every time I think something negative, I would turn it around. I go, okay, what is something that I can see? What is a compliment I can pay this person? What is something that looks amazing about them? And even if it was like the way they wore their hair or the way that they were talking to their spouse or anything, I would always be looking for the best in them. And, I've actually I've been approached by a university in Columbia to create a children's program. So to teach a lot of these skills in middle school. We're doing a big project with about 10,000 underprivileged children in Columbia right now. And it's one of the habits that I'm getting the children into as well. Because one of the challenges that they have, they go, we want you to be able to combat bullying. I'm like, okay. I left school when I was 15 and I don't have kids. When I said yes to this thing, it was like, well, I can't say no, but I have no idea what I'm doing here, which was interesting in itself because I freaked out. I was like, oh my God, I'm having a meltdown. This is too much of a responsibility. I can't do this. All the fears, all the programs, it all just came up to the surface, and it's like what I was saying before, like pushing myself and feeling that fear. This was one of these situations. And, and I went through the process. What's my intention? Where do I want to end up? And before I even made a mind movie, I would sit down in the visualization of seeing me walk into the classroom in Columbia and the kids all pulling and screaming and laughing and the teacher crying, just telling me how much of a difference it's made to the children. And, they asked me to actually put exercises in there for the kids to take home so they can introduce the families to the concepts as well. But part of that, process was when we look at bullying, like I don't mention the word bullying anywhere in the program because I don't believe that when you label something, especially with these kids, these were younger kids too, it's like, I don't want to put a label on something that may not even know exists. But, to me, it's like the bullies and the bulliers are both hurting bad. So how do we get them, so I talk about how to look for the best in other people. How to celebrate what makes you unique and different, how to build your self-esteem, how to feel good about yourself. And I think that if these are the basal, issues that are contributing to the bullying situation, then we've already given these kids the skills and the habits and the practices so that this doesn't become an issue for them. They're already in the habit of looking for the best in others. And when they're in the habit of that and they're doing it part of the program, it makes you feel so good. And that's what I would get into as well. I'd be looking at other women and just, and I do admire women for their accomplishments and how they show up in the world and the people that they are, and like how women, like I don't have children. I can't even fathom how a woman handles a family and a husband and a business, and it has everything under control. They're super women. I have so much respect for them. But that was one of the things that, and that's also one of those, the lessons in the program where women, well, not just women, but men go, wow, okay, we're like in the tail end of the program. I didn't think I would be learning something so, like, having such a deep insight at this time, at that part of the program. But that's a really big part of, that negative, spiral that goes around in our minds that holds us back.
Natalie, you make it sound so easy, and most of us have said, okay, we've heard about positive thinking, the power of positive thinking. We've heard about The Secret and mind, things of that type. But my question always is that just one should ask themselves is that if you are not where you want to be, especially if you're doing the work, as far as showing up and doing the emails and the launches and going through the motions, and you're not where you want to be, then there's got to be something deeper. And sometimes it's like not just on the layers, sometimes it's like pulling off layers of an onion, going beyond, going beyond, going beyond. And, so to hear what you've done and how you've done it and what you use. And I recommend to anyone, if you're not there, that's simply the proof in itself. If you're not there, wherever you want to be, whether it's personal, business, in relationships, whatever part of your life, then you do need to do something differently. And this will be definitely something differently. And it's such a tool that, as you mentioned, you can utilize through the rest of your life. You're talking about making an investment and changing the rest of your life. And it's not too late. And it's that easy. And it's that, possible to be able to implement it.
Well, I wouldn't say it's easy. Listen, there's some effort that goes in there, and especially like the first time around, it's like you're discovering so much about yourself. But here's the thing, and for me, I'm consistently doing workshops. I'm attending programs. I know that that self-development is a lifelong process. It's a lifelong process. There is no such thing as the perfect human being. I am definitely far from perfect. And like I said, every time I push myself just that little bit further, like, with the children's program, there's another layer. Something else is coming up now because, you're stretching yourself and you're evolving and you're going to the next level, okay? So I just surrender. And for me, the juiciness for me is in the process. It's in the journey. Because the journey's never going to end. So it's going to be, and hopefully when I'm 120, I'm still learning more about myself and I'm still stretching myself and I'm still, expanding to that next level. Because I think as souls in these human forms, this is why we're here. We're here to evolve into, knowing more and being more and serving more. I mean, when we do that, it just makes my heart expand. And I'm like, I know that's why I'm here. And I know that, there are women that are probably watching this video right now or watching the replay that feel the same way, so the more that I can and step up and improve myself and push myself, then, that's what it's all about. And the thing is with the USM and the Success School online, it's the foundation to everything. And it helps you get into the routine of adding practices and daily habits that are really going to help to create that awesome foundation. So whatever it is that you choose to focus on, to move towards, that you have the skill to be able to do that.
So now I would like to I'm going to open up the chat lines in case there's somebody that does want to ask you questions. And then as you tell us more about it, I know they can go to our website, which is anempoweredwoman.com/strictly-business. And at the very bottom, it'll say, yes, count me in. But tell us more about the program, what it involves, how much does it cost? And then I'm also going to open up the chat lines for anyone that has any specific questions.
Yes. You know what? Let me just get that link up as well so I can look at that, and because I want to make sure that I cover everything that we have in there, because I know I sent you the link before. So with this program, what we're doing is I say it's a 12-week program, but really you've got lifetime access. And I know that so many people that are going through the program, like there's probably not maybe a handful of people that have actually finished it in the 12 weeks. It's designed so that you can go through at your own pace. Some people, especially when we get to the limiting beliefs module, they take a couple of weeks, a few weeks to get through that, because, there's some things that they want to uncover. And when you go through that really powerful process that Margaret and I take you through, it can uncover quite a lot. So it really helps you to really uncover a whole bunch of what's happening there. And you can take the time to do it, which is awesome, The other things that we have there, let me just get up this link for you. Here we go. Okay.
So it's a program with modules, then they have different modules that they can work at their own paces.
You can work at your own pace, as much as you like. Like I said, you have unlimited access, so you can go through as many times as you like. And I kind of went through all of the, you know, the success, you know, the thread that we go through over the 12 weeks. But then you can always go back through again. Obviously, you have access to me. Like I said, I'm in there every single day. I'm answering questions. You know, you can even, you know, what's also included with this package is that you're getting access to the Mind Movie software as well. Because, you know, in Module 3, you're making a Mind Movie, and then you can actually send it to me, and I will personally critique it for you, and give you some, you know, sometimes it just takes a little bit of a tweak just to make it so powerful that, you know, that it's going to absolutely catapult you to success. So, you know, you get access to be able to send that to me so I can, you know, critique your Mind Movie for you. You know, we have, what else do we have here? Oh, right. We also have 12 months free access to the SSA membership. Now, this is like it's a monthly membership where I do calls with, you know, different gurus from our industry. We have like a free app that comes with it as well. There's all, you know, like an accelerator article. You get a mini magazine. Again, you get access to me there as well. And we supply like a subliminal audio every month for you. So it'd be on a different theme. And you also get the Mind Movie subliminal software, which is so cool. Like this software, you download it to your computer, and then you load in your Mind Movies into this program, and you can control the volume and the opacity. So when you put the volume down and the opacity down, so it's just faintly playing in the background of your computer, you could be working all day and consciously you stop seeing it. But subconsciously, all of your affirmations are effortlessly getting programmed into your subconscious mind. So you find that after a few days or a few weeks of using this, that you automatically start to think more positive thoughts, you know, or think these affirmations because they've already been absorbed into the subconscious mind. So it's a super powerful tool. So you get, you know, your Mind Movies, the 12-month SSA, and of course, lifetime access to USM. And we have a special price, obviously, for your community, Desiree. So you can either make one payment of just $5.97, or you can split it up into 6 payments of just $119.99. So, you know, and with all of our programs, you totally get a 60-day money-back guarantee. So you can actually go through it for 2 months, and even, you know, even day 59, if you're not happy with the results that you're getting, and for some reason it's just not for you, it's no problem. You just send us an email at support@mindmovies.com, and we'll rush you a full refund. No questions asked, hassle-free. You just let us know. But of course, between that then and there now, you have complete access to ask me any questions and any challenges that you have. I can actually walk you through them and help you with those as well.
I think that's fantastic, because I think if, you know, our viewers even realize that if you're going to a therapist or if you're going to anyone else, it's going to cost you a lot more of that in 1 or 2 sessions. So to be able to have something that's just so that you can kind of build upon yourself, and that's so, again, that will last you for a lifetime, and you can always resort back to it when the time is needed. Because again, like you mentioned, there's challenges will happen. There are periods of your life where you're going to need it more than others. So it's just a fantastic opportunity, and to be able to have access to you who've actually David and can, you know, advise someone along the way, I think is really powerful. So anyone, I want to encourage anyone that has any questions for Natalie, this is an opportunity for you either to write them in on their chat. I'm going to keep my eye on it for the next few minutes, and should be glad to answer them personally for you.
Awesome. Yeah. So really, what we're offering is like it's a risk-free, you know, opportunity to really get in and see what the program's all about. Connect with people all over the world. Like, you know, in the second module, we actually team up with an accountability partner. You know, and we've actually had, you know, many times we have like groups are forming. So, you know, I remember there was one group in particular. There was a woman in the UK, 2 in Australia, 1 in Canada, and 2 in the US. They would get on a Skype call once a week, you know, and I think one of the women in Australia was kind of running the whole thing, and they'd all have, you know, a chance to talk about where they were at, any challenges that they have, and they were really supportive with each other. So when I was in Australia for Christmas one year, actually, I was the guest, unannounced guest that popped in on the call. So yeah, it really is, and especially if it's difficult to to get support elsewhere in your life. I mean, I know for a lot of people going through the program, it's the only place where they have support on their personal development journey, because no one else in their life is doing it. So, they actually they're part of a community here. And, like I said, from people all over the world, it just astounds me. It's so amazing.
I think you're really, that's really important. That's a really important value as well, because of the fact that many people, either they feel that no one will understand them, or no one knows the process or want to go through this. So they basically, a lot of us are lone rangers out there, and we need something to keep us going, and to be able to have access to someone who speaks the same language, understand it, don't think that we're going woo-woo or crazy behind it, that really can believe it and support our beliefs is valuable. That community always makes things work.
Absolutely.
Anyone who's listening, make sure you can go to our website, which is anempoweredwoman.com/strictly business. It's STRICTLEYBUSINESS, strictly business. It's also where you went to register. So on the same page where you went to look at the video, but encourage you to join and take part of this, so that wherever you are, we're almost approaching the half of the year now of 2016, and many of us had very ambitious, audacious goals. And if you're not even doing everything else, then this could be the mission. It doesn't hurt to try it, because it's your total value of your life.
Yeah. So, and it's like before I was talking about, how we were with Glenn and I, we had the businesses. We were taking the action. We were doing all the conscious work. We're very good business people. But we were like this car up on the jack with the wheel spinning, but not getting any traction. And it wasn't until we applied these success principles that when we combined the two of them, man, it was on like Donkey Kong. Like I said, it's not just, it's not just the mind movies and the success of our business. Like, we became a multi-million-dollar business in just a few years. Like, I'm working with children's groups all over the world. I was approached to be on a TV show, a consciously aware talk show. We're looking at a new cable TV show that's in talks right now. So many different opportunities have come up because we combined the two of them. And we were able to create a business that was a platform that, like, I had a gentleman from Liberia in Africa email me the other day going, I really want to talk to you about the children's program. I'm like, how did you find me? Like, and he's like, I follow you online. I'm on your Facebook page. I see the inspiration show. So, when you show up as the best version of yourself, and you're always looking at how you can serve, and you're combining your business know-how with these life skills and these life principles, that's when you have a recipe to be able to create anything that you want. And the life that you want, you can create a life beyond your wildest dreams.
Well, thank you so much for sharing this with us. I am excited about it, and I'm excited to see the ladies participate in it, so that we can all grow together. Because together we're better. And I want to thank you so much, Natalie, for sharing your time. And I want to thank our viewers for joining us today. In closing, Natalie, what would you like to leave our listeners with today?
I am a country girl from a family of 8 kids from a country town in Australia. And, like I said, being able to combine these two worlds together has created a life that I couldn't even imagine in a million years. It has far surpassed anything that I could have ever dreamed up about myself or for myself. And it's because, I've adopted the right practices. I have things on a daily basis that keep me in this vibration of being able to be creative and tapped in to something that makes life so delicious and juicy and wonderful. And it's, why I do what I do. It's why I teach what I do, because it is possible for everybody. And if I can do it, then you can do it too.
Well, thank you. And I know these empowered women and men all over can do it as well. So thank you so much again. And until we meet.
Bye-bye.